The 10,102nd meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is United Nations Peacekeeping Operations, Police Commissioners. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the following briefers to participate in this meeting. Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, Under-Secretary General for Peace Operations. Mr. Faisal Shaka, United Nations Police Advisor. Ms. Mamouna Ouedraogo, Police Commissioner, United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And Mr. Meinholf Schlottmann, Police Commissioner, United Nations Mission in South Sudan. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I now give the floor to Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and distinguished members of the Council. I thank you for convening this important briefing, and I'm pleased to be joined today by UNMISS Police Commissioner Schlottmann, MONUSCO Police Commissioner Ouedraogo, and of course our United Nations Police Advisor, Commissioner Faisal Shaka. I deeply appreciate the Council's continued recognition of United Nations peacekeeping as one of the most effective instruments for the maintenance of international peace and security. United Nations Police, or UNPOL, remain a key component of UN peacekeeping and plays an indispensable role in fulfilling our mandates. All of us, member states, host countries, and uniform and civilian personnel share responsibility for the success of peacekeeping. This is particularly important at a time where multilateralism faces unprecedented pressures, and even more so when peace operations are being asked to deliver more with fewer resources. Today's briefing takes place at an inflection point for United Nations peacekeeping. The Pact for the Future mandated the Secretary General to launch a comprehensive review of all forms of United Nations peace operation. The review, which is entering its final stage, offers a critical opportunity to rethink how we deploy, resource, and support our missions in an increasingly complex security environment. I hope this review delivers a forward-looking vision for how peacekeeping can remain fit for purpose, politically grounded, and responsive to the needs of the people we serve. Today's briefing is also taking place against the backdrop of the UN-80 initiative and mission contingency planning due to the severe liquidity crisis. As you know, the Secretariat has undertaken significant cost-saving measures, including reductions in civilian staff and the repatriation of military and police personnel. Having visited some of our biggest missions in the last couple of months, I have seen firsthand how these cuts are affecting our ability to deliver on mandates, including the protection of civilians. I would also like to highlight our mission's efforts to mitigate as much as possible the operational impact of the saving measures through bold innovation and reorganization. Efficiency is necessary. We are committed to finding ways to save. However, this efficiency drive cannot substitute for predictable and sustainable financing. As the Secretary General has emphasized repeatedly, peacekeeping's ability to deliver will be severely compromised without the timely and full payment of assessed contributions. I recently briefed the Special Committee on Peacekeeping Operations, or C34, on the renewed Action for Peacekeeping Implementation Strategy. A4P has helped prepare UN peacekeeping to meet contemporary challenges and will remain our shared framework for strengthening the effectiveness, safety, and impact of peace operations across 7 priority areas. First, political solutions remain at the core of sustainable peace. United Nations police play a crucial role in supporting political processes, strengthening host state police and other law enforcement institutions, and helping increase trust between communities and the host state. Further, United Nations police advisors and mentors are critical to the planning of public order management during electoral cycles. In missions such as MINUSCA, MONUSCO, UNMISS, and UNFICIP, its work aligns with mission-wide political strategies to advance stability and reconciliation. Second, we are strengthening strategic and operational integration. The heads of UN military and police components conference, first held in 2024 and which we hope to conduct biannually, and enhanced joint planning processes have improved coordination amongst uniform and civilian components, enabling more coherent responses to evolving threats. Third, we continue to invest in capabilities and mindsets. We are strengthening professional standards, specialized skills, and operational readiness. The revision of the Police Command Course and development of the Police Operational Command Course as part of the United Nations Police Training Architecture Program are key activities in this area. Fourth, accountability to peacekeepers and to the communities we serve remains paramount. Community-oriented and intelligence-led policing approaches enhance mission effectiveness, but they also enhance the safety and security of our personnel. Fifth, we maintain a policy of zero tolerance for sexual exploitation and abuse. The department supports peacekeepers, including police peacekeepers, by strengthened training, monitoring, and victim-centered responses. We thank our police contributing countries for their close cooperation in this area. Six, in today's information environment, strategic communications and information integrity are mission critical. The United Nations Police are contributing to the work of the task force I set up to implement the recommendations from the review of uniformed personnel. I'm grateful to member states that have joined the advisory board to work with us on guidance for uniformed personnel. United Nations police officers are key to countering misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech through their daily community engagement and proactive outreach. Seventh, we are deepening cooperation with host state police and other law enforcement agencies. In the Central African Republic and South Sudan, the United Nations Police continue to support police reform and institutional development. Our ultimate goal is for the host state police to assume their responsibilities in accordance with international human rights and criminal justice standards. Across all these priorities, the Women, Peace and Security agenda remains central. We have made progress in increasing women's participation and leadership in UNPOL, including through women's command development courses that create a talent pipeline for which we can draw when filling senior posts. Progress, however, remains fragile, particularly in the context of budget cuts. We must continue to invest in recruitment, retention, and leadership development for women police peacekeepers. The 2025 Peacekeeping Ministerial Meeting in Berlin demonstrated renewed political commitment to peacekeeping. It benefited from record participation and resulted in meaningful capability pledges, including for specialized police capacities, rapid deployment, and training. The pledges are essential to ensuring that UN police are prepared to respond to emerging threats in areas like transnational organized crime, cyber-enabled crime, climate-related insecurity, and the misuse of new technologies. The ongoing reform of peace operation the ongoing review of peace operations I referred to earlier offers an opportunity to reaffirm the unique and distinct contribution of the United Nations Police to peacekeeping. Peace operations depend on UNPOL for community engagement, institutional reform, and the prevention of criminal and intercommunal violence. UNPOL is also uniquely positioned to address challenges that particularly require a policing response, including operating in environments with high density of population, such as, for example, IDP camps or large cities, supporting the capacity building of rule of law institutions, and helping to counter transnational criminal activities. As many member states have emphasized in their submission to the review, policing must remain a core element of future peace operations. UNPOL's professionalization over the past decade, including advances in doctrine, training, and specialized recruitment, constitutes critical institutional capital. With member states' support, we must preserve and strengthen it. Despite severe constraints, our police personnel continue to serve with dedication, professionalism, and courage. They operate in environments of persistent insecurity, political volatility, and growing operational risks. This briefing is therefore an opportunity not only to take stock of progress, but to renew our collective commitment. We must ensure that mandates are matched with adequate resources. We must sustain political unity around peacekeeping. We must protect the institutional and operational gains achieved under A4P+, and we must equip United Nations police to meet the demands of tomorrow. We encourage Council members, troop and police contributing countries, and regional partners to engage actively in the ongoing review of peace operations. We count on your support in finding new innovative deployment models and sustainable financing mechanisms for United Nations police. And we hope that you, through your voices and actions, will continue to reinforce the central role of policing within the United Nations system. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Lacroix for his briefing, and I now give the floor to Mr. Faisal Shaka.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for convening this briefing. I'm very pleased to be here with Under Secretary General Mr. Lacroix, our Police Commissioner Mr. Schwartman from UNMISS, and Police Commissioner Odrago from MONUSCO. It's a unique honor for me to address this council today on behalf of all United Nations police, women and men, serving across 12 peacekeeping operations and special political missions, representing over 77 police contributing countries. This year's Police Week takes place at a moment of reflection and transition. As we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, multilateralism is under profound strain, and the global peace and security landscape is shaped by the fragile geopolitical conditions and persistent conflict. Yet, the United Nations police remain a cornerstone of the organization's effort to support peace, protect civilians, and shape accountable and representative national security institutions wherever we serve. Excellencies, allow me to highlight a few of the challenges of the United Nations police before we turn to our achievements. Misinformation and disinformation campaigns have increasingly targeted our missions, complicating our engagement with the communities and eroding trust with the host state institutions. In response, the UN Police has expanded its community outreach mechanisms, enhanced cooperation with mission strategic communication teams, and strengthened local dialogue platforms to reinforce confidence in our presence. The environments in which we operate are increasingly complex and volatile. The United Nations police are confronted with sophisticated transnational organized crime networks that exploit porous borders, weak institutions, and new technologies to undermine governance and fuel cycles of violence. We are working through the United Nations Interagency Task Force on Policing, which is co-chaired by DPO, Department of Peace Operation, and UNODC, to strengthen system-wide coordination, produce joint guidance, and reinforce our collective capacity to support host state authorities in countering cross-border threats. Enhancing the professionalism and performance of our police personnel also remains central to our effort in keeping with the A4P+ priorities. The United Nations Police Commanders Course, anchored in Strategic Guidance Framework for International Policing, continues to equip senior leaders with the skills, accountability, and operational readiness to achieve more effective and principled policing in the field. As we look to the future under UN80, continued investment in leadership development remains indispensable. Finally, I must also echo the concerns shared by Under Secretary General Mr. Lacroix regarding the UN80 initiative and missions contingency planning, which has reduced our resources. The persistent resource constraints have reduced also our field presence and impacted our ability to deliver on our mandated tasks. These restrictions have required us to adapt swiftly by streamlining operational planning, prioritizing essential activities, and identifying innovative ways to maintain support to host state institutions and protect civilians with agility and professionalism. Turning now to a few of our accomplishments. Across MINUSCA, UNMISS, MONUSCO, and our other missions, the United Nations Police continue to support national authorities in building more effective, responsive, and representative national police services through institutional reform, targeted capacity building, operational support, and crime prevention initiatives that will endure beyond the mission timelines. Last year, with the generous support of Norway, we were able to bring together senior police leaders from our missions in Cyprus, Congo, RBA, South Sudan, as well as regional and international partners as part of our in-mission global review of guidance developed under the Strategic Guidance Framework for International Policing to strengthen the entire operation, not only of UN Police, but providing a strategic guidance for the global policing as a whole. In the Central African Republic, the UN Police supported the authorities in the drafting of key legal policy frameworks, including Internal Security Forces National Capacity Building Plan and the Framework Security Law, an effort that directly contributed to strengthen the rule of law and consolidating national policing institutions. They also played a direct role in electoral preparations by assisting in the secure delivery of electoral materials across all prefectures and supporting national authorities as they prepare for the presidential and parliamentary elections held late in 2025. And in RBA, UNISFA, police continue to play a central role in maintaining law and order by mentoring and training community protection committees and joint protection committees, conducting community confidence patrols, and supporting local mediation efforts in the absence of RBA police surveys. And also, I would like to mention here the delayed deployment of the 3 formed police units which have been authorized by the Council. The Women, Peace and Security agenda also remained at the forefront of our efforts. In RBA, the UN Police promoted women's meaningful participation in community-based protection structures and integrated gender-responsive practices into local security processes. In addition, the latest Women Commander Development course that was held in Italy, Brindisi in May 2025, we brought together senior women police leaders from 18 member states to better prepare them for future leadership roles in the United Nations policing. This course further strengthened the UN Police Women Command cadre and reinforced our collective efforts to expand women's representation at the highest level of police leadership. Excellencies, as the Peace Operations Review mandate under the Pact for the Future and moves towards its conclusion, it offers an important opportunity to ensure that policing expertise is fully reflected in future mission designs, particularly in areas such as community engagement, organized crime, and strengthening of host state policing institutions. The United Nations Police stand ready to contribute to a forward-looking vision that keeps policing as an essential element of peace and security toolkit. I would also like to acknowledge the positive momentum generated by the 2025 United Nations Peacekeeping Ministerial in Berlin. The Ministerial reaffirmed strong global support for peacekeeping, with 74 member states making concrete pledges, including specialized police capabilities, rapid deployment enablers, and advanced training initiatives. We encourage member states to maintain this dynamic so that the gains achieved and the progress made toward a more capable and representative United Nations Police are properly preserved. Excellencies, your continued support remains critical in ensuring the United Nations Police can fulfill our mandated tasks and remain a vital tool for peace and security. As we navigate the transition initiated by the Pact for Future and the Peace Operations Review, I urge member states to reaffirm policing as a core pillar of any future peace architecture. Let me conclude by thanking this Council for the opportunity to speak and by emphasizing that the continued political and financial engagement of member states is critical to ensuring that the UN Police remains fit for purpose and responsive to evolving challenges of today's complex security environment. Thank you for your attention.
I thank Mr. Shaka for his briefing, and I now give the floor to Ms. Mamuna Ouedraogo.
Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to brief today. The MONUSCO police component operates in one of the most complex and unpredictable environments faced by UN peacekeeping. Rapidly evolving insecurity in eastern DRC, the presence of armed groups, large-scale displacement, and institutional fragility place exceptional demands on policing functions. In this context, adaptability and operational flexibility are essential. Since MONUC's establishment, United Nations Police has evolved from a monitoring function into a multi-dimensional operation and reform-oriented pillar, contributing to the protection of civilians, providing support to national police and security institutions, accountability, conflict prevention, and long-term institutional transformation. Over recent years, and particularly following the deterioration of the security situation in the East, United Nations police work has shifted decisively towards prevention and protection. Our officers support intelligence-informed deployment, structured joint patrols with the Congolese National Police, mentoring of police leadership, and reinforcement of investigative and internal oversight mechanism. While the authorized ceiling under Resolution 2808 of December 2025 remain unchanged, meaning 443 IPOs and 1,270 FPU personnel, the implementation of the liquidity contingency plan has altered UNPOL's operational capacity. As of January 2026, 157 IPOs and 690 FPU personnel are deployed, roughly half of the authorized strength. Capacity has therefore been concentrated in Kinshasa, Beni, and Bunia, while maintaining a limited but essential presence in Goma. Protection of civilians remains central to our mandate. Through daily engagement with communities, traditional leaders, civil society, and police counterparts, UNPOL contributes to enhancing early warning, preventing violence, and strengthening community trust in security institutions. Special emphasis is placed on displacement-affected areas where insecurity exposes civilians, especially women and children, to heightened risk. During the last semester, United Nations Police conducted more than 50 IDP camp visits, supported over 80 joint protection patrols with the Police Nationale Congolaise, and organized more than 72 joint community engagement activities inside the IDP camps to strengthen dialogue, trust, and cooperation. United Nations Police also implements a dedicated sexual gender-based violence response strategy through specialized teams, strengthening investigation capacity, survivor-centered approaches, and cooperation with judicial and protection actors. These efforts are complemented by the implementation of the SOLI stratégie opérationnelle de la lutte contre l'insécurité, through targeted joint operation, hotspot policing, and local security coordination, contributing to improved urban security trend in Beni and Bunia. Police reforms remains a strategic component. Through the Joint Police Reform Program, United Nations Police supports professionalization of the Police Nationale Congolaise, strengthens the Inspectorate General, and promotes human rights compliance policing. During the last semester, UNPOL supported the training of more than 1,292 Police Nationale Congolese officers in several policing topics, including sexual gender-based violence investigation, child protection, IED awareness, forensic techniques, and crime scene management, and supported also the deployment of over 100 police inspectors nationwide. Accountability remains an essential concern. UNPOL supported inspections of 233 detention facilities, facilitated 197 human rights monitoring and mentoring activities, and organized 75 5 awareness sessions for Police Nationale Congolese personnel. These efforts are guided by the Action for Peace and A4 Peace Plus commitment, particularly on performance, protection of civilians, partnerships, and accountability. The Women, Peace and Security agenda is embedded across UNPOL's operational and institutional support activities. As of January 2026, women represent 30.6% of individual police officers deployed in MONUSCO, while 21.05% occupying command and leadership positions. Within the formed police units, female representation stands at nearly 16%. Beyond numeral representation, UNPOL promotes gender-responsive policing through specialized sexual gender-based violence teams, targeted training, and operational mentoring, ensuring that protection activities and police reform efforts address the specific security needs of women and girls in conflict-affected and displacement-prone environments. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the experience of MONUSCO confirms that effective policing is not peripheral to the peacekeeping. It is foundational to civilian protection, conflict prevention, accountability, and sustainable stabilization. Even under severe constraints, United Nations Police continues to deliver tangible protection outcomes through integration, partnership with national institutions, and continuous adaptation. Concurrently, United Nations Police remains fully committed to the safety and security of United Nations personnel and assets. Despite the reduced footprint resulting from the liquidity and contingency plan, formed police units continue to play a critical role in public order management, protection tasks, and high-risk operations, ensuring that peacekeepers can operate safely in volatile environments. While reduced staffing and resources will remain a significant constraint, United Nations Police will focus on consolidating gains in protection-driven policing, maintaining proactive presence among displacement-affected population, and sustaining critical police reform and accountability functions. Operational efforts will increasingly emphasize targeted presence in high-risk areas, strengthen joint action with the Congolese National Police, and high-impact intervention align with the SOLI strategy. At the same time, United Nations Police will pursue internal realignment, updated planning tools, and closer integration with mission components to remain responsive, credible, and effective under Resolution 2808. Finally, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the Police Division at headquarters for its continuous strategic guidance, technical support, and advocacy, as well as to the 32 police contributing countries whose officers serve in difficult and often dangerous conditions. Their professionalism and commitment remain the backbone of our collective efforts to support peace and security in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Please accept my deepest gratitude for your kind attention.
I thank Ms. Ouedraogo for her briefing. I now give the floor to Mr. Meinhold Schlottmann.
Mr. President, Excellencies, thank you for the opportunity to brief the Council on the strategic direction of United Nations Police in the United Nations mission in the Republic of South Sudan at a moment of ongoing political violence, constrained resources, and urgent protection needs. UNMISS is mandated to advance a multi-year vision anchored in 4 core tasks: protection of civilians, creating conditions conducive to humanitarian assistance, supporting implementation of the revitalized peace agreement and peace process, and monitoring and investigating human rights violations. The political and security environment remains volatile, underscoring the importance of an agile, integrated peacekeeping mission with unrestricted freedom of movement under the Status of Forces Agreement. Within this context, UNPOL's approach is to protect today while helping build a police service that can protect tomorrow. In terms of our priorities for mandate implementation, firstly, UNPOL will sustain an active Tier 2 protection of civilians posture, visible, deterrent, and rapid deployable, through integrated patrolling of formed police units, FPUs, and individual police officers, IPOs, across population centers and emerging hotspots. UNMIS is planning to expand long-range patrols to areas no longer served by permanent field offices and rotate UNPOL teams through force company and temporary operating bases to maintain presence, to build confidence, and to shorten response times. To institutionalize a dedicated search capacity, we propose piloting rapid deployment FPUs with police contributing countries, enabling short notice deployments into high-risk locations alongside IPOs. Those capabilities would complement, not replace, essential fixed presences in various field locations. Secondly, UNPOL will prioritize route security, conflict-sensitive community engagement, and incident de-escalation to sustain humanitarian corridors and secure movement for UN and partners. Denials of movement and administrative impediments to patrols continue to hinder protection efforts. The host country's compliance with the Status of Forces Agreement is indispensable to saving lives. We will intensify joint civil-military planning for air and ground mobility to reach isolated communities during the long rainy season when roads and bridges are impassable. UNPOL will provide technical assistance to the South Sudanese National Police Service, the SSNPS, on public order management consistent with human rights standards and community-oriented policing that mitigates intercommunal violence. Moreover, on election-related policing, UNPOL, in line with the mission's political strategy on supporting elections, would also be ready to provide similar support to the national police. This includes strengthening capacity building on command and control, crowd management doctrine, evidence-based operations, and information integrity measures to counter rumor and hate speech-driven violence in line with the A4P plus priorities on strategic communications. Recognizing that sustainable protection requires capable national policing, UNPOL will drive a consolidated capacity building agenda with the SSNPS through the Police Professional Development Board, our platform to align all UN agency, fund and program inputs, avoid duplication, and maximize scarce resources. This model reflects A4P plus commitments to strategic and operational integration and cooperation with host countries. And finally, women and girls in South Sudan face among the highest recorded levels of gender-based violence globally. Rigorous studies indicate that more than 65% have experienced physical and/or sexual violence in their lifetime. UNPOL will help build the capacities related to survivor-centered policing, expand women-led community policing platforms, and reinforce specialized investigation and referral pathways with national counterparts. This is aligned with the mandate's requirement for specific protection of women and children and strengthened responses to conflict-related sexual and gender-based violence. Mr. President, Excellencies, South Sudan is nearly twice the size of Germany, with limited road infrastructure and long periods of seasonal inaccessibility. Even before current constraints, UNMISS could not be everywhere at once. We therefore prioritize population centers and high-risk areas while extending reach through long-range patrols and rotational presences. Under the UN's contingency planning, UNMISS has reduced its footprint, including the closure of some field offices, such as Awale at the end of December 2025, while maintaining patrolling from nearby bases to mitigate protection gaps. UNPOL's rotational teams at force operating bases are designed to offset some of the effects. Nevertheless, this still means doing less with less. Recurrent constraints on UNMISS movement significantly undermine mandated tasks. This Council has previously called on the authorities to cease obstructing UNMISS and to respect its ability to use all bases. The UN's liquidity crisis has forced deep cross-mission expenditure cuts and hiring freezes, leading to a mandated 15% budgetary reduction, translating into roughly a 33% reduction in uniformed and civilian personnel. Peacekeeping arrears and late payments have delayed reimbursements to troop and police contributing countries, with cascading effects on readiness and deployment rotations. As a result of these cuts for UNPOL in UNMISS, the operational consequences are concrete. Reductions in aviation hours, fuel, and movement support impede rapid reinforcement to conflict hotspots. Closures and consolidations of field offices with associated staff reductions stretch our ability to maintain consistent community engagement in hotspot areas. Hiring freezes and uncertainty around allowances for uniformed personnel hamper our ability to attract and retain special police expertise, including the women officers essential to effective protection and SGBV response. Despite these constraints, our teams continue to deliver by readjusting its approach, guided by A4P+ commitments to capabilities, mindsets, integration, strategic communications, and accountability. To preserve life-saving effects while resources are constrained, we are implementing the following measures. We are concentrating IPO patrolling and their security in geo-reference hotspots prioritized by mission-wide early warning indicators and humanitarian access needs. We are also systemizing rotational teams to TOBs, supported by integrated planning with force and substantive sections to sustain community contact, mediation, and patrol coverage where offices have closed. Through the Police Professional Development Board, we are synchronizing all UN and partner police support activities to SSNPS priorities, focusing on public order management, investigations including SGBV, and internal accountability systems. Moreover, we are expanding women-led community policing units and survivor-centered investigation capacity with the SSNPS in response to persistently high GBS VVV prevalence. In this regard, we call for your support in ensuring compliance with full status of forces agreement, including unhindered ground and air movement and the use of UN bases as operational hubs. Timely access saves lives. And lastly, support the piloting of rapid deployment FPUs and consider more flexible rotation models to widen the pool of specialized and women police officers able to serve consistent with A4P+ goals. Mr. President, Excellencies, in conclusion, peacekeeping remains critical in South Sudan. While the 2018 revitalized agreement raised hopes of a post-conflict trajectory, today's realities on the ground demand that we protect civilians decisively while enabling national institutions to shoulder their responsibilities. UNPOL in UNMISS will continue to be field-centric, mobile and integrated, protecting communities, facilitating humanitarian action, supporting peace process deliverables, and advancing professional, accountable policing. I thank you.
I thank Mr. Schlotman for his briefing. I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3, namely the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Somalia, and my own country, Liberia. The A3 extends sincere thanks to the distinguished briefers, Undersecretary Jean-Pierre Lacroix, Commissioner Schlotman, Commissioner Ouedraogo, and Advisor Shaka for their insightful and qualified briefings. Today, before discussing mandates, models, or reforms, we honor all those wearing the blue beret and helmets, those who continue to serve selflessly with dedication and professionalism, often in increasingly challenging environments. The A3 thanks all of you for your service to humanity. We also salute the significant contributions of African peacekeeping and police contributing countries, which account for a substantial portion of UNPOL deployments. Your continued commitment strengthens UN operations globally and makes the maintenance of peace and security actually possible. Mr. President, since 1948, UN peace operations have recorded more than 4,300 fatalities, including police, military, and civilian personnel. These numbers are not abstractions. They represent officers who patrolled alleys they did not grow up in, defended communities they had never met, and paid the ultimate price for a peace they will never get to see. May their ultimate sacrifice for peace realize the results they paid so dearly for. Mr. President, Africa's experience with UN police is both extensive and instructive, carrying a unique burden and credibility. Africa is home to the largest number of UN missions, and we contribute some of the largest contingents of police personnel. This dual role gives us a clear message we wish to deliver today. UN policing works best when it strengthens national institutions not when it substitutes for them. The A3 position is therefore simple. Support must be requested, not presumed. Assistance must be partnership, not parallelism. Capacity must be transferred, not temporarily rented. Experience across the continent shows that sovereignty and effectiveness are not competing goals. Sovereignty and effectiveness can and must be mutually reinforcing. In Liberia, UNMIL did not deliver miracles. It delivered a nationally led police reform anchored in community trust. And I say to you, it was a successful mission. The result was a police service Liberians recognize as their own. This lesson is clear. Peace that is imposed fades. Peace that is owned will endure. The A3 priority for the future of UN policing is to make capacity real, not rhetorical. Training that stops in the classroom is good, but not good enough. Real capacity comes from joint patrols, joint investigations, leadership mentoring, and systems reform rooted in national strategy. This is how police institutions become resilient and not reliant. Mr. President, the Security Council must match mandate with means. Too often, the Council authorizes what it does not adequately resource, creating gaps between Council's ambition and actual deployment, as well as intentions of the Council and outcomes on the ground. A mandate without means is an unkept promise. It really is an unjustified risk that is too high for citizens, for police, and for peacekeepers. At the same time, Mr. President, the Council must continue to avoid the temptation to make peacekeeping mandates about the interests of individual members of the Council over those for whom the resolutions are intended to assist. Mandates, therefore, must be clear, not confusing. The A3 believes we must modernize responsibly, void of technological dependency. Technology shapes everything from human trafficking to digitally coordinated violence. UNPOL must have these tools, but host states must own, operate, and sustain them long after missions depart. We cannot replace outdated forms of dependencies with digital dependency. Women in policing should be an intrinsic part of the strategy, not mere symbolism. Women police officers open doors that weapons cannot. Their presence improves intelligence, strengthens community trust, and reduces fear and stigma in conflict settings. We therefore call for greater deployment, leadership, and retention of women police, because this is an operational necessity and not symbolic convenience. Mr. President, to achieve these objectives, the partnership between the AU and the UN must be strengthened. African institutions, from the AU peace and security architecture to silencing the guns, are not slogans. They are living frameworks built on continental experience and legitimacy. UNPOL must operate with these frameworks, not around them. The A3's vision rests on 3 pillars: partnership, empowerment, and sovereignty. As we look ahead, our message is clear: from intervention to partnership, from substitution to empowerment, from international ownership to national sovereignty, from parallel structures to strong, permanent, nationally led police services. When a UN police mission closes, its success should not be measured by the number of vehicles it leaves behind, but by the strength and legitimacy of the national police service that remains standing. Africa is not merely asking for better missions. We are looking to shape the next generation of police operations, using our lived experiences as our guide. To conclude, Mr. President, we, the A3, commit to working with all partners to ensure the UN policing becomes what it must be: a catalyst for national capability, a defender of sovereignty, and a builder of lasting peace that conflicted peoples, including people of Africa, truly deserve. I thank you for your kind attention.
I thank the representative of Liberia for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Greece.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank USG Lacroix, UN Police Advisor Shakar, and the police commissioners of MONUSCO and UNMISS, Mrs. Ouedraogo and Mr. Schlottmann. At the outset, let me reiterate that Greece considers the United Nations Police an indispensable component of UN peacekeeping, contributing to the maintenance and enhancement of international peace and security through, inter alia, the support to host states' police capabilities. Greece reiterates its gratitude to the men and women police officers who are committed to serving under the most challenging circumstances while protecting civilians and maintaining law and order. We honor the memory of all those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Mr. President, in today's rapidly evolving operational environment and amidst a severe liquidity crisis which affects all UN peace operations, means and capabilities, the need to adapt UN police to present circumstances is more urgent than ever. We recognize the hard measures adopted by MONUSCO and UNMISS, and we congratulate both missions for their efforts. On MONUSCO, the drastic reduction of personnel of the police component resulted in curtailing core functions, including patrols, mentoring, advising, and joint operations. On UNMISS, reduction measures have already resulted in significant operational constraints, limiting the mission's capability to deliver fully on core protection, political, human rights, stabilization, and electoral support functions. Allow me to highlight 5 points. Firstly, the adaptation of UN police should build upon the actions contained in fundamental texts such as the Pact of the Future and Action for Peacekeeping Plus. In Action 21 of the Pact, we committed to adapt peace operations to better respond to existing challenges and new realities. The adaptation of UN police should consider the needs of all member states and police contributing countries, and the priorities and responsibilities of host countries without compromising the core functions of the missions. We also support efforts to implement the priorities outlined in the Action for Peacekeeping initiative as well as for the A4P+. Secondly, we fully agree with the idea that the UN police can contribute significantly to supporting political settlements and post-conflict transitions. Primacy of politics should be a core element of all missions mandates, translated into strengthening the use of political strategies and expanding local police dialogue efforts. As USG Lacroix has recently proposed, this effort should draw on an integrated effort whereby military and police officers are equally engaged in working with their civilian counterparts towards a political goal. Thirdly, Greece supports the integration of new technologies, including artificial intelligence capabilities, in the training and capacity building of the UN police for the enhancement of operational efficiency and the reduction of risks to personnel. In last year's Security Council area meeting on harnessing safe, inclusive, trustworthy AI for the maintenance of international peace and security, convened by Greece, we attested the broad support to the idea that the AI-related technologies could be harnessed for peacekeepers, training, logistics support, landmines detection, surveillance, or monitoring tasks. Fourthly, we believe that the UNAID offers a unique opportunity to review peace operation mandates with the final aim of making them more operational, result-oriented, and efficient. The pursuit for efficiency should be multi-level, starting from a better coordination between the Secretariat components, between the headquarters and the missions, and between the UN system and the member states, especially the troop and police contributing countries. Lastly, UN policing should more effectively integrate women, peace and security agenda into its work. We encourage the Secretariat to continue its efforts to strengthen women's access to all roles, including by developing a database of potential women police leaders to enhance the women police leadership pipeline. Also, by ensuring women's safe participation and broader gender responsiveness in peace processes and peace agreements. In concluding, Mr. President, Greece stands ready to continue supporting UN police in its important work. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Greece for their statement. I give the floor to the representative of Panama.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We thank you for convening this meeting, and we express our gratitude to the briefers for their valuable contributions.
To see so many blue berets in the room. Your presence here reminds us that your commitment and service keeps peacekeeping operations alive and connected to the people that we aspire to serve in conflict zones. Panama thanks you for your service and for wearing with dignity the UN blue, a symbol that still gives us, who believe in the founding principles of the United Nations, hope for peace. La Policía de las Naciones Unidas.
The UN police constitutes an essential component of peacekeeping operations, and this in line with the provisions of the Pact for the Future and Action for Peacekeeping. Through their selfless work in coordination with military and civilian counterparts, they help to protect populations during and after conflicts. Mr. President, in a global context marked by a lack of funding for peace, and in order to satisfy humanitarian needs, now is the right time to think about the safety and well-being of the United Nations police. This recognition that we're giving them today must be coupled with the highest level of rigour and progress in terms of planning, allocation of resources, and capacity building. It's essential to support the work that takes place during transitions, where responsibilities become greater and police and UN workers need to coordinate their responses in each operational pillar, whether it's to strengthen the rule of law, to provide training and mentoring to national police forces, or to assist in disarmament and reintegration processes of former combatants and in addition to these duties, we have others that bring with them risks like the protection of civilians and reconciliation and reconstruction processes. Each cog in this machine is important, and we observe with concern cases such as the MONUSCO and UNMISS, where it's becoming increasingly difficult to fulfill the mandate to protect civilians precisely due to financial cuts and different factors, including political, security and operational factors. And we take note of the points that both commissioners pointed to in their statements. Panama welcomes innovation. However, this innovation must be planned and must take account of the needs of the local population, which is why we urge continuing to advance more flexible deployment models that enable UNPOL to respond in a more agile manner to evolving operational environments. What's more, we believe that it's essential to strengthen the training of UNPOL in light of emerging challenges, including the responsible use of new technology, digital investigations, management of evidence and data protection, and this fully in line with international law and with human rights. Each reduction to uniformed personnel or each rushed withdrawal leads to decreased capacity to protect the civilian population, to prevent violence and to support sustainable transitions. Mr. President, if we really want to recognise the work of the United Nations Police and the work of personnel on the ground, we must ensure that these mandates are backed by the resources, capacities and conditions required to be fully implemented. Reaching ceasefire agreements is commendable. However, the most complex tasks are rebuilding and also ensuring that these agreements are lasting. We recognise that this process requires these efforts and resources, and that only the UN peace-building system with its strategic vision can achieve these things. What's more, and like has already been mentioned in this statement, it is essential to go further, to better integrate the women, peace and security agenda in the work of UNPOL. The meaningful participation of female police officers strengthens access to and dialogue with communities, and also improves the identification of and response to sexual and gender-based violence, and contributes to fostering trust among the local population and security institutions. By way of conclusion, Mr. President, we must strengthen and revitalise the structure of the United Nations and not weaken it. Strengthen what already works by building on the capacities we already have and cutting what does not bring added value so that we can objectively measure the results. Panama reiterates its highest admiration and support for the UN police and all UN personnel who operate in difficult and challenging contexts. Thank you very much.
Thank the representative of Panama for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Colombia.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I thank the Undersecretary General for Peace Operations, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the UN Police Advisor Faisal Sarkar, and the Police Commissioners of UNMISS and MONUSCO. Thank you all for your briefings. I also welcome the presence of the police components of the different United Nations peacekeeping operations. Mr. President, in a context of protracted conflict, growing tensions, social fragmentation, and increasing sophistication in the way transnational organised crime works, the police component of peacekeeping operations plays a fundamental role. It is a pillar of legitimacy, trust and protection, and also a bridge between immediate security and sustainable peace. On this, I wish to point to 4 different points. First of all, I wish to underscore the strategic value of the work of police with communities. Inclusive dialogue and trust-building measures are key for reducing fear, preventing abuse, contributing to the protection of civilians, reducing community violence, and lastly, building peace on the ground and with social legitimacy. In this context, it's crucial to consider the differentiated needs of women, youth and other specific groups of the population, which is why we appreciate the contribution of the United Nations Police to preventing gender-based violence, to promoting the participation of women, and as a result, the implementation of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda. At the same time, we welcome the sustained increase in female police officers deployed to peacekeeping operations, and we insist on the fact that dialogue must be maintained with the authorities, civil society, and organisations who defend women's rights, thus facilitating the inclusion of the gender perspective and a human rights-based approach in protection systems. Our second point, we wish to recognise the role of the United Nations Police in strengthening the rule of law and generating and strengthening institutional capacities. Contributions to the professionalisation of security forces and support to organising electoral processes provide a conducive and necessary environment for consolidating and sustaining peace. Based on our experience as both a country that has received and provided police cooperation, we underscore how important national ownership is for institutional strengthening processes to be successful. Without national ownership, it is impossible for these capacities to be sustainable. Thirdly, we wish to underscore the need for the police component to be adjusted so that it can effectively respond to both traditional armed conflicts as well as to contemporary threats due to transnational organised crime. The effects of climate change and challenges in the area of cybersecurity, the sustained support of states, strategic alliances and focus on training and updating are essential in order for UNPOL to benefit from the capacities that it needs in order to anticipate, understand and fight against these phenomena. On our fourth point, we wish to underscore the need to work jointly on the balance between mandates, expectations and the resources available. The reality on the ground and the United Nations Charter must be the guide that we use to define clear and realistic mandates, which must come coupled with sufficient and predictable resources. In this regard, Colombia draws attention to the effects of the liquidity crisis on the ability of missions to protect civilians and their ability to support the strengthening of institutions and, in general, the effect on confidence in the organisation. Given this, we are looking forward to the results of the peacekeeping operations review, and we stand ready to engage in constructive dialogue on the adjustments that need to be made in order to improve the tools that the UN has, including UNPOL, to maintain and build peace. Mr. President, by way of conclusion, Colombia reiterates its support to the UN police and will provide our support to consolidate it as a police service for peace, a professional one that is close to communities, to the regions that it works in, and that is respectful of human rights. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Colombia for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of China.
Thank you, President. I thank USG Lacroix, Police Advisor Shaka, Police Commissioners Wadi Drago and Schlockman for their briefings. UNPOL are an integral part of UN peace operations. They play an irreplaceable role in restoring public security, rebuilding the rule of law, and protecting civilians in post-conflict countries. Here I pay high tribute to UNPOL, who steadfastly fulfill their duties and contribute selflessly to UN missions around the world. China supports the UN in its ongoing efforts to strengthen and improve the work of UNPOL, ensuring they can contribute more effectively to international peace and security. I wish to make 3 points. First, UNPOL must serve the overarching peacekeeping strategy. Their deployment and operations should adhere to the fundamental imperative of political settlement, working in close coordination with the political processes while respecting the sovereignty and leadership of host countries. The ultimate goal of UNPOL is not to replace local actors, but to help host governments enhance their law enforcement capabilities so that they may incrementally resume and ultimately assume independently their responsibilities of public security, and through coordinated political and security efforts, gradually achieve stability and self-governance in conflict-affected areas. Second, UNPOL must adapt to increasingly complex and evolving environments. Current peacekeeping missions face mounting challenges, with traditional and non-traditional security threats becoming ever more intertwined and intensified. In the digital age, the spread of mis- and disinformation fuels public misperceptions, creating new risks for safety, effectiveness, and credibility of the missions. UNPOL should continuously enhance capability building, prioritizing specialized training in civilian protection, community policing, and responses to emerging security threats. This will make them better equipped to operate in challenging environments, ensuring more effective maintenance of social order and protection of civilian safety. Third, UNPOL must continuously improve their operational performance and credibility. Efficient resource utilization is inherent to the duties of peace operations. As such, a culture of efficiency should be promoted throughout the life cycle of UNPOL, with greater resource integration to reduce redundant investments. Performance evaluation systems should be refined to fully incorporate host country feedback, ensuring that evaluation outcomes are effectively translated into actionable improvements in operational modalities and performance. We must uphold a zero-tolerance approach to misconduct and strengthen accountability mechanisms. We must ensure that UNPOL perform their duties in accordance with the standard procedures so as to enhance the trust of local communities that they serve. Colleagues, throughout 26 years of participation in UNPOL, China's police have consistently upheld the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, strictly adhered to the 3 core principles of peace operations, and performed their duties with dedication and discipline, fulfilling all UN-mandated tasks to the highest standard. China has dispatched over 2,700 police officers to 18 UN peace operations and UN headquarters, establishing a presence across 4 continents. The entire Chinese peacekeeping police have been awarded the UN Peace Medal, reflecting their commitment to justice, professionalism, civility, and confidence. In addition, China has also provided long-term financial support to UNPOL-related projects through the China UN Peace and Development Trust Fund. China will actively implement the Global Security Initiative and the Global Governance Initiative as championed by President Xi Jinping. We will continue to actively participate in UN peace operations, including UNPOL, to translate China's commitment to world peace and security through concrete actions. Thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, President. I would also like to thank USG Lacroix, UN Police Advisor Faisal Shakar, and Police Commissioners Mamouna Ouedraogo and Mr. Menolf Schlottman for their briefings. We also welcome the presence in the chamber of senior UN police leadership from peacekeeping missions and special political missions around the world. President, this meeting clearly brings out the fundamental role of peacekeeping in giving effect to this Council's primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. And USG Lacroix rightly reminded that peacekeeping is a collective responsibility. And as the distinguished ambassador of Liberia noted at the outset of his very enlightening intervention, that collective responsibility also entails paying our utmost tribute to our peacekeepers, all our blue helmets. President, the United Nations Police constitutes a core operational pillar of peacekeeping. And while there are challenges, as have been highlighted, we appreciate the detailed manner in which the briefers have highlighted also the achievements and priorities of UNPOL across various missions. Their role in supporting political processes, protecting civilians, strengthening the rule of law, and enabling sustainable transitions is central, particularly as missions operate in increasingly complex, volatile, and resource-constrained environments. In many contexts, UNPOL represents the most visible and trusted interface between the UN and local communities. Pakistan's police, along with our military, has been a traditional contributor to UN missions. Over the years, Pakistan has deployed over 50 formed police units in service of UN peace operations, including in Haiti, Darfur, Timor-Leste, Cote d'Ivoire, and other situations. 11 of our brave police personnel have laid down their lives in the line of duty. The current readiness of a Pakistani formed police unit at the rapid deployment level highlights our preparedness to continue supporting international peace and security efforts. Pakistani police officers have earned respect for their professionalism and devotion to duty under the United Nations Police banner, as also exemplified by the leadership of Mr. Faisal Shakar at the UN Police Division. And I would also like to recall that Pakistani policewoman Shehzadi Gulfam was the first ever recipient of International Female Police Peacekeeper Award in 2011. And last month, 13 Pakistani police personnel, including 3 women serving with UNMISS, were awarded United Nations medals in recognition of their meritorious services. President, we are concerned, like other members, at the current challenges faced by UN peacekeeping, both financial as well as those arising from lack of host state cooperation. Pakistan underscores the importance of full cooperation by host states to enable timely deployment of peacekeepers, including police components where authorized by the Security Council. Further, The missions are operating under acute financial distress, leading to ad hoc capacity reductions with direct implications for mandate delivery and the safety and security of peacekeepers. Despite their growing importance, UN police continue to face gaps between mandated tasks and available resources. Out of an authorized UNPOL strength of approximately 7,700, only 4,600 personnel, for example, are currently deployed. Further reductions will only hurt peacekeeping efforts. We encourage all member states to pay their assessed contributions in full and on time, enabling the full delivery of Council's mandates. Lastly, Mr. President, the financial crisis and the review and reform processes must not impede the capacity of the UN to have an impact on ground. Blue helmets are the most visible symbol of UN's commitment to peace and stability. Peacekeeping brings relevance and legitimacy to this organization by making a tangible difference in people's lives on ground. Pakistan will continue working with all stakeholders constructively to ensure that UN peacekeeping and policing remain adequately resourced and operationally capable to perform their critical mandated tasks. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Bahrain.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I'd like to thank Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the Undersecretary General for Peace Operations. I thank Mr. Faisal Shahkar, United Nations Police Advisor. I thank Ms. Mamouna Ouedraogo, Police Commissioner at the United Nations Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, MONUSCO, and Mr. Meinolf Schlottmann, Police Commissioner at the United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS. I thank them all for their valuable briefings. I'd also like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to all those working in peacekeeping operations, including United Nations police personnel. We express our sincere condolences and sympathy to the loved ones of those who lost their lives in the line of duty. We sincerely thank all member states contributing troops to the United Nations police. Mr. President, the United Nations police has always been critical in the maintenance of international peace and security by providing support in zones of conflict and in post-conflict transitional contexts once the conflicts end, as well as in peace-building initiatives. This calls for concerted international efforts under the Action for Peace Initiative and the Charter of the Future to strengthen the ability of these forces to address emerging challenges, to build confidence, to ensure security, and to strengthen community cooperation to protect civilians and address serious crimes so that we would have a safer, more peaceful, just, and sustainable world. I would like to touch upon the following points in this regard. First, in the light of the current situation that the world is facing today, it is important to have clarity and flexibility in the objectives and mandates of United Nations police operations, and we need to maintain transparency in the timelines for their implementation. It is also important to conduct periodic and on-the-ground assessments and adjustments to adapt to the emerging challenges and to ensure optimal use of financial and human resources that are available. Second, the Kingdom of Bahrain calls for increased flexibility and realism in the frameworks of UN police operations. This is done by using modern technology such as artificial intelligence to contribute towards enhancing the capacity of these forces and their ability to adapt to different and diverse variables and to ensure the continuity of these operations as well as their effectiveness in the face of geopolitical challenges and challenges posed to financial and human resources. Third, it is important to strengthen the role of partnership with host states. This is pivotal in improving the capacity of the host state police. Here we note the role of the United Nations Police in supporting capacity building programs, institutional development, rebuilding structures, and providing training programs to host state police personnel in a manner that would allow them to ensure the safety of their citizens and to ensure that they are able to enforce the rule of law to achieve the desired peace and stability. Fourth, the Kingdom of Bahrain believes in the need to enhance the status of women and to ensure the participation of women in all areas and affairs of public life. In this context, the Kingdom of Bahrain welcomes the efforts made by the United Nations Police to achieve these objectives for equitable opportunities between both men and women over the past years, and we call upon the UN Police to enhance the role of women in its ranks and to increase the rate of their effective participation in peacekeeping operations in a manner that is in line with the Women, Peace and Security agenda. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Bahrain looks forward to the 2026 United Nations Chiefs of Police Summit on COPS in July. The summit is an opportunity to enhance cooperation and exchange experiences and skills in the field of police work in order to address current and emerging security challenges. In conclusion, the Kingdom of Bahrain will continue to support all efforts to strengthen joint work to support the United Nations Police operations in the service of security, stability, and peace at the regional and international levels. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Bahrain for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to all of our briefers today. Also, a special thank you to all police contributing countries and the police who serve. UN police contribute significantly to peacekeeping by protecting civilians, controlling civil disorder, policing borders, training and mentoring host country police, and institutionalizing the rule of law. This is particularly evident in South Sudan, where UNMISS's police personnel conduct joint patrols, community policing initiatives, and capacity-building workshops with the South Sudan National Police Service. These efforts are essential to delivering UNMISS's mandate. They strengthen professionalism, accountability, and community trust, which enables local police to address security challenges more effectively. In Haiti, UN Security Council Resolution 2793 authorized the deployment of a new gang suppression force with a UN support office. We are now witnessing a new hybrid model adapted to meet the emerging needs to counter transnational criminal organizations and share the cost burden among member states. The gang suppression force will confront a gang threat that is metastasized into an insurgent threat. In an effort to restore baseline security, the gang suppression force will deploy a force predominantly of military elements, but with police contingents working in tandem to execute critical policing functions. We expect to learn lessons from the gang suppression force experience as the force deploys and as police and military contingents work together to neutralize the gangs. These lessons can be integrated into future multinational operations. Member states must prepare police with specialized trainings to match the growing complexity of today's challenges, especially in areas such as addressing organized crime and conducting forensic investigations, including digital forensics. We appreciate the Department of Peace Operations' work in recent months to identify practical steps to improve data sharing between UN police and national police services. This will build the capacity of national police services to more effectively address current and future threats. This is a vital step to helping UN operations effectively transfer responsibilities to host states. We look forward to continued innovation as UN police bring together missions, host state law enforcement, and local communities to meet today's emerging challenges. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Mr. President, we would like to thank Undersecretary General Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix. We also thank the Director of the Police Division of the UN, Mr. Shafkar, and the Police Commissioner with UNMISS, Mr. Nolf Schotman, and Ms. Mamunio Drago, who is a police commissioner for MINUSCA. We thank them all for their informative briefings. The police plays a key role in the life of any state, not only as a force that reacts to crimes, but also as an institution on which security, justice, and trust in society directly depend. In countries which are affected by conflict, such an image of a police officer is often associated with UN peacekeepers precisely. After all, it is the blue helmets who interact with the population first and foremost. And they have a daily contact with local residents and authorities, and they must strive to build effective communication, taking into account cultural and national characteristics, as well as potential ethnic, religious, or other differences. The success of such interaction largely determines the perception of the mission as a whole. In establishing such a trust-based contact, women police officers can play an irreplaceable role. Their number has already exceeded all planned indicators. We would once again like to emphasize here that it's important above all to be guided by the real tasks that exist under the mandate on their effective implementation of factual deployment circumstances and security assessments. Additionally, when sending women to UN peacekeeping missions, including to leadership posts, the principle of a broad geographical representation must be strictly observed. Mr. President, depending on the mandate of a specific mission, the scope of activity carried out by police peacekeepers may vary from advising local colleagues to fully ensuring public order using their own forces. Often the national law enforcement bodies of host states are significantly weakened or even are absent entirely. In such conditions, what flourishes is organized crime, human trafficking, drug trafficking, sexual violence, and violence against children. If UN police are better prepared for such circumstances, they can make a significant contribution to the crucial task of protecting civilians from direct security threats. They can also assist national law enforcement personnel. At the same time, it's important to avoid situations in which the long-term presence of missions essentially results in the UN personnel substituting the efforts which should be made by local police. It is necessary to put an emphasis on assisting in the reform of law enforcement agencies and improving the national capacity of host states. And this applies to transferring experience, establishing flows of activity, and training personnel. The more effectively this task is carried out, the faster responsibility for maintaining law and order will be fully transferred to national forces, and the higher the likelihood that after the drawdown or withdrawal of the mission, the capacities of national forces to ensure security and the infrastructure created will not degrade or deteriorate. The peacekeeping mission and subsequently the UN Integrated Office in Haiti carried out active work in training local police. And thanks inter alia to UN assistance, the Haitian National Police, despite very strong pressure from gangs, not only did not lose their potential, but they also replenished their ranks with new personnel and were able to to hold critically important areas and infrastructure facilities under state control. we regret that the police component was recently excluded from the new Haiti mandate. How the gang suppression force and bilateral partners will cope with this crucial task is unclear. For many years, the police component of the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has been valiantly fulfilling its duty. Thousands of police officers from dozens of countries have served within this mission, ensuring the protection of civilians and the maintenance of law and order. The blue helmets of MONUSCO also made a significant contribution to supporting the security sector reform in the DRC, to training personnel of the Congolese security agencies, and developing police infrastructure facilities and penitentiary institutions in the host state. We proudly note that in this important work across all the direction I just outlined, Russian police officers have actively participated and continue to participate. We are closely following the process of MONUSCO's police component reduction within the framework of the Secretariat's measures to optimize the financial support of peacekeeping operations. Significant reductions, including those related to the liquidity crisis, are now also taking place in the UN mission in South Sudan. It is necessary to minimize the potential negative consequences of such steps on the situation on the ground and to resolve emerging contentious issues with the host states and troop contributing countries through dialogue. It is important to focus on ensuring that the restored capacity of the law enforcement forces and in the area of the rule of law is sustainable and is kept long-term. Mr. President, whatever challenges the UN police may face in the future or are already facing now, and especially given the substantial reductions in peacekeeping contingents in most missions, they must be professionally trained and equipped with the necessary equipment. They must also be highly motivated to perform their duties. And in this regard, we support the work carried out by the UN Secretariat, bilateral intergovernmental cooperation, and the activities of many regional organizations, first and foremost the African Union, to improve the training level of police peacekeepers. Our country actively contributes to this common cause. Since the year 2000, the All-Russian Peacekeeper Training Center of the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Domodedovo, we have had UN-certified courses which were taken by hundreds of foreign police, UN police, including commanding officers, and they came from more than 50 countries of the world, mostly from Africa. Among them is a large number of women. We have a unique experience in the area of professional training of peacekeepers, and we stand ready to share this experience. The Russian Federation, as a police contributing country, strives to increase its contribution to UN peacekeeping activities and to send to missions personnel which have the most sought-after skills. Hundreds of Russian blue helmets have already contributed to maintaining peace and security in various regions, and dozens continue to serve in peacekeeping ranks. And out of them, more than a third are women. They serve in 5 UN missions. Among them are specialists in such areas as forensics, crime investigation, maintaining public order, and administrative activity. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I thank the Under-Secretary General, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, his police advisor of the UN, Mr. Faisal Shakar, as well as the police commissioners of MONUSCO, Madame Mamouna Ouedraogo, and from UNMISS, Mr. Meinolf Scholtmann, for their enlightening briefing. France pays tribute to the UN police personnel, police officers and gendarmes who are committed to the service of peace, often in very difficult conditions for the benefit of civilian populations. France honours the memory of those who lost their lives serving under the flag of the United Nations, and we applaud the commitment of contributor countries. Mr. President, the UN police obtains results, and we need to continue on that track. In a complex international environment, the United Nations police has been able to evolve, professionalise and show its utility. The participation of women, including in the highest leadership roles, is a success that we need to continue with. Attention paid by police components to the protection of women and children in the face of violence in conflicts and beyond strengthens confidence on the part of populations and makes the UN's work more effective. These precious achievements that are fragile in their nature must continue. In a context of budgetary constraints and in the framework of UN 80, it's necessary to reaffirm what makes the UN police forces great. That's the quality of the personnel and their presence on the ground close to the populations. The review of the peacekeeping architecture is an opportunity to better leverage the UN police in order to facilitate and support transitions. Working with absolute respect for the law and the fundamental principles of the UN Charter, the police is designed to be a pillar of the rule of law, both within their borders as well as within international operations. The UN police contribute directly to the protection of populations and enable supporting host countries in strengthening their capacities in the area of the rule of law, which is essential for the maintenance and building of peace. Police components must thus continue to strengthen national security forces, to work with justice systems and penitentiary services to reform the security sector and prepare for the future with local populations. These actions are long-term and last beyond the presence of a mission. In Central Africa, we have MINUSCA, in addition to the already very important work that they have engaged in partnership with the police and gendarmerie. Finally, let us look at the consequences of this. In many regions in conflict, transnational organised crime, drug trafficking, human trafficking and terrorism are linked to each other. These local as well as transnational criminal dynamics feed instability, they cause lasting damage to institutions, and they threaten populations. In the face of these scourges, the United Nations provides their know-how working with domestic stakeholders. This is the case in Haiti, where the experience of past missions is a tool of expertise for the multinational mission mandated by this council. In Colombia, the UN police contribute to the full implementation of the peace agreement. France supports this integrated, cooperation-based approach, skills sharing, and the link between security, justice, and development. Mr. President, the holding here in New York in July of the 5th Chiefs of Police Summit is a great opportunity to consolidate the work of the UN police. This UN police, which is a major asset for peace, that France renews its trust, confidence and support in. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for their statement. I give the floor to the representative of Latvia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to thank Undersecretary General Lacroix, Police Advisor Shahkar, and Police Commissioners Wedra Ugo and Schlotman for their insightful briefings. And I take this opportunity to express our gratitude to all UN police personnel for their service and sacrifice. Mr. President, UN police contingents constitute an integral part of the UN peacekeeping operations and efforts to maintain international peace and security. They help address a wide spectrum of conflict-related security challenges and associated fragility, particularly with regard to upholding of the rule of law. And I would like to underscore 3 points that, in our view, merit closer attention as we seek to further strengthen the UN police activities while managing resource constraints. First, we need to equip police contingents with the necessary skills and tools to operate effectively in volatile environments. From uncrewed aerial vehicles to AI-enabled data platforms, technologies can play a crucial role as a force multiplier. The aim is not to replace the functions of police personnel, and particularly community engagement, but to help shift their work from reactive to predictive. And also, challenges related to misinformation and disinformation can disrupt peace efforts and fuel security risks for mission personnel and local populations. Latvia will engage in the work of the newly established advisory group on strengthening information integrity in UN peacekeeping. And we welcome the group's focus on producing concrete deliverables, including training packages for police officers performing strategic communications functions and missions. Second, we are convinced that full and equal and meaningful participation of women is key to effective work of UN police components, and we heard that in today's briefings. Women personnel bring their own experiences and perspectives to peacekeeping efforts, helping to build trusted relationships with local communities. And Latvia supports the work of the high-level network of gender-responsive policing, which focuses both on promoting gender diversity in police forces and on improving the prevention of and response to sexual and gender-based violence. Our national experience with women constituting nearly 47% of Latvia's police force shows that inclusive institutions which mirror the societies they serve are the ones that work best. Third, for the UN missions to deliver consistent results across the peace continuum, our police components must be fully in sync with civilian and military components. And we should avoid siloed approaches, with each component pursuing misaligned objectives, which leads to fragmented outcomes. Together with more than 40 troop and police contributing countries, Latvia has joined the initiative by Denmark and Austria on a letter outlining concrete steps to advance integrated planning across UN peace operations. The aim is to ensure that Security Council mandates are translated into actionable and whole-of-mission plans. The outcome of the UN Peace Operations Review, as well as the next iteration of Action for Peacekeeping Plus strategy, should guide efforts towards such an approach for current and future deployments. And in conclusion, we welcome today's discussion and recognize the importance of sustained attention to matters related to UN policing. We look forward to the upcoming UN Chiefs of Police Summit in July, which will provide an opportunity for more in-depth discussions on enhancing the capacities and the role of UN police. And I thank you.
I thank the representative of Latvia for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me also thank today's briefers for their insightful remarks, in particular the perspectives shared from the front lines of UNMISS and MONUSCO. And let me also thank all UN peacekeepers who keep working under extremely difficult circumstances and to pay tribute to those who paid the ultimate price in their efforts for peace. Mr. President, we meet at a time when the nature of conflict is changing. Many crises today are driven not only by political violence, but by illicit economies and criminal actors exercising control on the ground. This has serious implications for how the United Nations approach peace operations and transitions, and for how police functions operate within that framework. Mr. President, allow me to make 3 points. First, peace operations remain an essential tool. They protect civilians, they support political processes, and help stabilize fragile situations. United Nations police is an important part of these tasks today and in the future. We see it in UNMISS, where UN police provides critical frontline support to the mission's protection of civilian mandate. This includes preventive and confidence-building patrols, community-oriented policing, and measures to prevent sexual and gender-based violence. Through mentoring and advising the South Sudan National Police Service and deploying mixed and all-female teams, UN police strengthens trust in state institutions, enhances early warning and information gathering, and helps create safer conditions for durable peace. But there is still work to be done. Haiti provides a stark example where gangs operate as de facto authorities, undermining governance and the rule of law. If such dynamics shape the conflict, they must also be reflected in how missions are designed, sequenced, and transitioned, including how and when police functions are brought in. Second, across several missions, UN police operates in extremely challenging environments, often with limited authority and limited resources. This is not a failure of UN police, but a reflection of mandates and mission designs that do not always match the realities on the ground. As we have heard, UN police plays a pivotal role in fostering trust and solidarity with local communities. UNPOL bridges peacekeeping missions and host communities. They build trust and solidarity through community-oriented policing. UNPOL is not an add-on at the end of the mission. It is a strategic bridge between military stabilization and lasting peace. UNPOL also supports transitions from conflict to sustainable peace, where there is a need for law enforcement institutions that can uphold public order, protect civilians, and restore trust in the state, in full respect of the rule of law and human rights. With these perspectives in mind, we look forward to the upcoming review of the future of all forms of UN peace operations to consider how UN policing can be better integrated into the wider peacekeeping architecture, including through specialist expertise and smarter use of new technology. And third, there is still a need to strengthen the mission-level planning process that brings civilian, police, and military component into one effects-based plan tied to mandate priorities. That is why Denmark, together with Austria, is leading an initiative together with 40 member states to strengthen the planning. This means embedding police leadership and expertise from day one into mandate design, operational planning, and transition strategies. Mr. President, in closing, if peace operations are to deliver lasting results, policing cannot be an afterthought. It must be planned early, resourced properly, and treated as a strategic function within peace operations. Denmark remains committed to strengthening the role of policing within present and future UN peace operations. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Denmark for the statement. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the representative of the United Kingdom. Firstly, let me thank Under-Secretary General Lacroix, Police Advisor Shaka, Commissioner Ouedraogo, and Commissioner Mr. Scholtmann for their insightful briefings. The United Kingdom pays tribute to the UN police who bravely serve in peacekeeping missions around the world. UN policing is fundamental to effective peacekeeping in many contexts. To sustain impact, it must continue to adapt. To that end, technology, including new digital tools, should be used to enhance the effectiveness of UN policing, supported by strong digital competency within missions. New technologies can make missions more effective by enhancing operational awareness and deepening community engagement, but only if peacekeepers have the right skills and training to use them. Second, it is vital that, like all peacekeepers, UN police uphold and reinforce the highest human rights, conduct, and accountability standards. These principles form the basis of trust with local populations and are critical for mission effectiveness. Any form of misconduct, including sexual exploitation and abuse, is unacceptable. This requires timely and transparent accountability processes with consistent national follow-up and publicly accessible reporting on disciplinary results. Third, we must be clear that the meaningful participation of women in UN policing is an operational necessity, not an optional extra. As we have heard clearly today, women police strengthen community engagement, broaden access, and improve reporting of conflict-related sexual violence. For our part, the United Kingdom remains committed to tackling barriers to women's participation in United Nations peacekeeping, including through our long-standing support for the ELSI Initiative Fund, to which we have pledged a further 685,000 in 2025. Together, these efforts will help ensure UN policing remains capable, trusted, and effective. I resume my function as President of the Council. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.